Okay. I've just written this just to set the context, just to set an expectation. By the end of this talk, you will know what you should not be doing. The flip side of that is, that does not mean that you will know what you should be doing. So the point is, what then? This is where I expect you to talk back. You will probably get to know where you want to be and how to get there. Slightly more, not where you want to be, but where you should be. Our wants and where we should be may not be the same. Fair enough so far? Okay. Introduction about me. The best way to know about me is go on my LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. You can Google my name. I'll most likely pop up on the first page. I am the founder of EnterpriseJoy. We are a very small, 5 people or 6 people, depending on who's working on which day, strategy consulting company. And we have certain offerings that we provide. Apart from the general work, I do blog. I have been blogging since a very long time. I speak at conferences like this. I do have a podcast, so if you're into podcasts, you can go and search for the Enterprise Joy podcast. I release 5-minute episodes every day, although I have not released something since the past 1 week because of some reasons. Not important over here. Okay? But you'll have around 75, 76 episodes right now, so it's a good choice if you want to listen to over the weekend. That's me marketing about the podcast. Okay? Get started? Yes. So it is about strategy. So what is the most important thing about strategy? Maths. So you okay with maths? Yes. We are in an institute, okay? You're okay with maths? Yes. Jhoot mat bolo. Okay, we won't do maths. We'll do a little bit of story. Okay? This is where I will put the story on the board. You have to read back a little loudly. Fair? Whenever you're ready. Read out loud. Okay.
The cities where trains have called the city's lifetime. This is why they didn't even get into buses unless there was space to sit. Psychology. And the tickets cost the same whether you sat or stood.
Which is true, right?
Yes.
Even here. Okay.
Wiser and more for less. He dreamed of becoming a pilot. Because the air isn't crowded. He straight away worked on frankly and become a management consultant. He moved to a day because it was less crowded and
Good?
yes, that's your story.
Let's assume it is someone's story. But you may raise your hands if it is relatable. Okay? Is it relatable? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, even the Gen Z is nice. Yeah? I thought it is only the millennials for whom this is relatable. Okay. So I have a question for you, given that it is a maths question. Okay. I mean, there's a story, but it's maths. I want you to calculate the happiness score of this person. Find the X, whatever the X is. Can you do that?
Yeah.
You can? Okay. What's the answer? You have an entire story. I need the answer of X. There might be some formula behind it. Does this question look odd? Is it odd? Like I gave you a story, I'm asking you to find the happiness score. Raise your hands if it's odd. Okay, it's odd. Fair. Isn't this what we ask our people in the organization also? When we do a general survey about the happiness index of the people in the organization, every person has some context, some baggage, some lifestyle that they have been through, and they get certain fixed things in the organization. Everyone gets the same policies, the same benefits, more or less similar salaries in the same range and whatever. And every year, we want to ask them, are you happy in the organization? And there's a scoring that happens. And then there are certifications that are given to the organization. If the organization, let's say, it's a great place to work. So there has to be some formula for calculating the happiness index. So this person is my best friend. Growing up, he wanted to be a race car driver. Anyone here who wanted to be a race car driver? No? Anything related to driving? Yes, okay. Obviously, he did not become a race car driver, but he did become something which he's still enjoying. And there is still a passion that he follows, which is motorcycling, which he does over the weekends. I do the same. Have you seen this movie? It came out recently. Yes. Such an enthusiastic yes. Yes, we have seen the movie. I haven't seen it yet. It's on my wish list. But there is this one thing that Brad Pitt says during the movie, which is? So the person who wanted to become a race car driver, there was hope that one day I will become a race car driver. But we did not become that. Anyone who wanted to become a policeman when they were growing up, or a fireman, or any of the adventurous thing that we think of when we are growing up, and then we end up studying engineering because we are in an engineering institute over here, we probably had some other hope in our head, and we missed that out. Did you do something wrong? Did you? No. This is how a lot of organizations work as well. Now, I say that I am a strategist. When I introduce myself as a strategist, usually the question also arises that strategy is the work of a leader, a CEO, a CXO, CTO, whoever it is, which is true. In a lot of organizations, they are the ones who give the long-term view of what the organization should end up. Having said that, their primary work is decision making. For the decision making, they require a lot of other information, which may be external, internal, data oriented, AI, whatever we call it. That is where a strategist comes in, provides that data. Based on that, the CXO has to make a decision, and the decision is something that they are held accountable for. So the responsibility is decision making. But to get that information for the decision making, that need not be done by them. And yet in organizations, there will be one strategist who will come up with all the data that is required, hand it over to the CXO, and the CXO will very nicely discard it. Because hope is something that drives us over there as well. Even though the strategists will shout at the top of their voice, this is from which movie? I love this crowd. But the strategist will be like, hope is not a strategy. The CEO would be like, it seems you're new over here. I have been doing this my entire life. I know this business inside out. I've been doing this since I was a child. I'm the third generation business owner. You can have n number of reasons over there. But that is the truth of how a lot of organizations operate. There's nothing wrong with that if you are successful. If you're not successful, maybe there's something that can be done better. So, how do we measure success? So far, I have said that you're not going to learn anything, which you haven't, apart from the fact that there's a lot of hope that we consider in our lives, and we hope to be successful. I asked you the measure of happiness earlier. The second question is, if happiness is equivalent to success, whatever the success may be for you, how do you measure success? Is it your salary? Is it the stocks that's going up or down?
It's a variable.
It's a variable. So let's name a few variables. What can be those variables for success?
Depends as to what you have said. Money, family, growth.
Anything. Can you measure that?
Again, that is a variable. You keep changing.
You keep changing. Okay. So we were just discussing earlier that we need to have sessions where you ask a lot of questions. I don't want to be the one who asks you questions. As in, I don't want to be the only one who asks you questions. I want you to ask the questions back. If I'm asking you what is the measure of success, what is the first question that pops in your head?
What success is?
What success means?
How satisfied are you?
How satisfied are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with this session so far? Your answers will be recorded for future use. Okay. One way of measuring happiness for me, okay, comes from a book that got published, I think, last year. Dan Pink, the author of Drive, which was obviously a bestseller. The name of the book is The Power of Regret. And this is one of the things that he's quoted in the book. And this is, I think, one of the conversations with Brené Brown that happens. Over time, people regret what they didn't do more than what they did. So regrets are the inaction than the regrets of action. And if we know what we truly regret, then we know what we truly value. So you mentioned it's a variable. Regret is one of the variables. So let's say all of us have gone through some degree in our lives. If you had a choice, to do it again, would you learn the same thing? This is for the same, or even for the students who are studying that right now. Okay, if you have a choice to go back to first year, change your subject altogether, or change your degree, would you do that? Yes. Every time I have asked this question to anyone, the yeses come more often. But why is that? And let's say if the yes comes more often, does that mean that there is a regret, which leads to a reduction in your happiness score? This session slowly is going towards depressions. We'll bring it back, okay? Don't think so much about it. The point is not about worrying about the past. You can't change it. The point is, what do you do next? That's a common thing for organizations. That's a common thing for individuals. So let's say we do a little bit of what if scenarios. Shell as a company actually publishes a lot of what if scenarios, so you can go on their website and see that. This is one of the examples. Let's say, and I'm putting BE's computer science and AI over here because that seems to be trending right now. So there's a Bachelor of Engineering for computer science. I do not know if there is a Bachelor of Engineering yet for artificial intelligence. But let's say that because AI is trending right now, maybe in a few years, it is there.
Yes.
I'm already late. So let's say it becomes the go-to thing that you want to do in a few years, or maybe now if you have a choice. Okay. So a person who does BE computer science, let's say on an average they get a salary of 5 lakhs when they graduate next year. The year after that they'll get a 10% increment. The year after that they'll get another 10%. I'm just throwing out numbers over here thinking that that is the average that happens. It may not be the truth for everyone, but let's say that is how it goes. The fourth year either they'll get a promotion or they'll switch the company because we need more money. So maybe there's a bump in the salary. And then that continues till 2032. They get one more promotion or they change their job again. So that's a trajectory of an average BE Com Science getting into an organization that has the starting pay of 5 lakhs. Fair? And this is assumption numbers, so not necessarily this is the truth for you. Let's say that after 4 years, when BE artificial intelligence becomes a trend, if it becomes a trend, or maybe the AI bubble bursts, whatever happens, let's say their starting salary is 10 lakhs. They go through the similar curve, so 10% the first year goes to 11 lakhs, 10% the next year goes to 12.1. At this point of time, the person who did BE in computer science, what are they regretting? Obviously, you can't regret that, why am I not that person? The regret at this point of time is, why didn't I do the other course? And that obviously is a regret if salary is your primary measure of success. If it's not, then this scenario does not apply to you. But the scenario 2 that I have can be much earlier, since you mentioned that the course is already present. Maybe just 1 year apart, the salary that gets offered is much more because AI is where it is. And if you go through the same trajectory of the BE Com Science person with the artificial intelligence, you would see that the numbers change drastically. Now, this is a what if scenario in the future. The question is, if this may happen and if there's a probability of happening, at this moment, what would you do? If you have already graduated, do you go back and study further? If you are in your second year of graduation for Com Science, do you drop a year and change your stream? Does your family approve of it? Will you feel that, hey, my friends will go ahead, but I will be left behind? So many variables that will be in your head playing at that point of time. And it doesn't matter whether you are a student right now or whether you have been working for 15, 16 years, this same feeling continues. So what should individuals, organizations, and universities do about this? Should they do anything about it? Just leave it.
No, they should.
They should. What should they?
Probably upskill, something like that, depending on the interested person, so that he does what he does the best, plus he is upskilled himself and he can do more.
Which is one way of doing it. Yes.
Because in the first year of engineering, the curriculum is same for everyone. So you can do that.
So you can drop a year? Sorry?
I think it's important to take a decision. So if you are
So we all are CEOs of our own lives. It's important to take decisions. Okay? I told you there is a luck factor that's always involved. Okay? Every success comes with some point of luck that plays a role. I was surprised the first time I heard about it. This is very nicely explained in Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. Luck plays an important role. Take Paytm for example. If you remember the demonetization time, prior to that, Paytm used to have ads running on TV where you would pay money into someone's wallet, which is Paytm's wallet, and then you can make the payment without cash. Until demonetization, I was not comfortable putting money into someone else's wallet. Post demonetization, I didn't have a choice. Paytm was lucky to be in the right place at the right time. Paytm did not know about demonetization. It's going to happen after a year or 6 months, hopefully. So there is an aspect of luck that's involved. And then there's another aspect that's called manufactured luck. Manufactured luck is what do you do in order to make your own luck? And there are a series of things that can be done in order to get there. And there are 3 primary ways of manufacturing luck, right? You have flexibility, you have agility, you have adaptability. And the 3 of them are not the same. And the problem is that if you use one in a problem statement that requires another, you don't get the desired results. Fair? So quickly going through what all these 3 are. Let's talk about flexibility. Flexibility is about the range without any economic backlash. So for a student, since you mentioned the first year is common for all, we may think of a student in engineering learning multiple stuff over a year. I have given as an example maybe 2 months spent on 5 different things over the entire year. And then in the second or third year, I choose what I want to do. That's one way of thinking if you are thinking engineering. Something that our education systems do not allow but probably can is, what if it's the choice of the stream itself? The 5 things can be science, arts, commerce, diploma, and something else, horse riding maybe. But it's difficult for us to think about it because we haven't seen it yet. Organizations do that very often. You have Google, AWS, Microsoft. All 3 of these provide you cloud services. All 3 of these will give you some trial options for the cloud services. You can try out all the 3 and then choose which one you want to go ahead with. Or you have enterprise customization, and every company can give you a different type of customization. So it exists. Just does not exist in certain criteria that we have not yet seen. The question is, when you are posed with this kind of a problem, can you think of flexibility as the solution? Then comes agility, which by far is the most popular in the engineering world and in the technology world, and it has been around for a while. But when it comes to agility, what we are primarily talking about is the pace. How quickly can we go to the customer, get the feedback, and then change our ways of working? Product companies do it all the time. We have MVPs that go out in the market. We see if we are getting some traction. If we are getting traction, we invest more, we enhance the product. If we don't, we either shelf it or we do something different. Prototypes is a way of building products. For education systems, maybe getting a degree is not essential. In fact, India is one of those few countries where a degree is something that a lot of people aspire to get, which is not very common in West. There are people who go for higher degrees, but not everyone. So maybe there are a bunch of short-term courses that happen. I take one short-term course, as you said, continuous learning. I take a short-term course, I go and do a job. If I like the job, I continue. If I don't like the job, I go back to school, another short-term course, I go out and I learn something. It's a choice. You have to make a decision. Will your friends approve of it? Will your family approve of it? What will people say when they don't see a degree on your LinkedIn profile? There's a lot of questions that come with it. We are people who care about how others are judging us. But if you make a choice, you can do that. It's your life. Which brings me to adaptability. This is the long game. This is where existence is being questioned. So if I have to think of Blockbuster, heard of Blockbuster? Anyone? No? No. Kind of. Blockbuster and Netflix at one point of time were in the business of sending DVDs to your houses. And you can watch movies. Netflix started experimenting with video streaming. The long-term bet was that at some point of time, people will start streaming movies instead of buying CDs or renting out CDs. Blockbuster did not do that. Fast forward 10 years, Blockbuster was out of business. Netflix changed its business model itself. And the business model became no longer sending out CDs. We are going to be streaming videos, streaming movies, streaming TV series. Adaptability is about changing your primary existence. Individuals can do that as well. There are people who change their careers. There are people who are doing things currently in their life which they never studied before. There are people who do dual certifications, or someone who's an engineer might go on to do their MBA and whatever. That is the long game. You do not know where you will require it in the future, but you're preparing yourself to be there. Personal branding and marketing is one of the other things that people end up doing. You are preparing yourself for that time when things are not going well. And does it work in your favor? That's adaptability. And in all of this, the thing that's the most important is rapid innovation. You have to rapidly innovate in order to be where you want to be. Which, 30 minutes into the talk, brings me to SLICE. What is SLICE? It's an acronym. It's a way for conducting experiments, and a lot of experiments, in a very short amount of time, which helps you innovate faster. And I'll tell you how it's different, but a quick glance as to what SLICE is. The way SLICE operates is, you choose a hypothesis that you want to test out. You learn more about it. Go ahead and implement it. Chronicle your observations, and then you expand. The chronicle need not be documentation. It's in any format. It can be a video, can be a talk, can be anything that allows you to record the observations. Expansion is where you change the variable or change the parameter. If a solution worked in a 20-member team, will the same solution work in a 40-member team? If the solution works in Pune, will it work in Mumbai? If it works for an engineering student, will it work for a doctor? Expansion requires changing the situation and then still seeing if it fits. It is pure scientific method. You're trying to break the hypothesis. But if the hypothesis sustains, then you live with it because it's giving you good results. That's how SLICE operates. The reason why it becomes important with the rapid innovation that is being spoken about is, we come back to the same question: how do you measure success? Loads of loops in this talk. So here's one thing that we first need to understand. Every enterprise as of today is a tech organization. You may not be in the business of tech. You are still a tech organization. Giving you a simple example, if you are working for a bank, every single thing that a bank does requires technology. Their business is not tech, their business is financial services. Amazon, on the other hand, has a tech business, which is the cloud services, but is also in the business of retail. So you may not be in the tech business, but your business requires tech. If you require tech, then let's start with a conjecture. Moore's law, Gordon Moore, the first CEO, founder, co-founder of Intel, made an observation many years back that the numbers of transistors in the integrated circuits double every 2 years with a very minimal rise in cost. Which means every enterprise, firstly, this observation may not hold true today. It's a very old observation. But the way NVIDIA is growing, it might be even more. But what essentially this statement would mean is that every 2 years or every year, an organization, which is essentially a tech organization, has 40% more capability for improving their performance. Not necessarily that they utilize it, but it is available. So now if you have to compare a graph, the technology growth versus growth of a typical organization, even if an organization takes 3 years to match the same growth of tech that's happening every 2 years, by 10 years, the gap is very big. How do you bridge this gap? The whole point about slice is you have to target for 18% improvement every 5 to 6 months. If and only if you can target 18% improvement every 5 to 6 months, then in 10 years' time, your gap reduces. It still cannot keep up with technology, but your gap reduces. The problem is, the typical time for an organization to build strategy on an average is 3 to 6 months. So transforming in 5 to 6 months seems extremely difficult. A lot of digital transformations that have happened in the past promise a 20% improvement in 2 years. That's kind of a given in the industry. That does not take you anywhere close. So what you have to do is craft ultra-fast strategies, enterprise-wide. That's one of the things that we do. One of the offerings that we have is specializing in this. How we do it, not a conversation for now, but that's one of the things that we do. Our job is to help you build strategies, let's say in a day or 2 weeks, so that you can spend the remaining 5 to 6 months that you have in your hand for that 18% improvement, which is extremely difficult. But it's possible. What happens generally is product and engineering is the first priority through which you can bring in transformation, followed closely by operations, and then humans come towards the end. Because we feel that everything that we do with the first three will take care of the humans, which is true to a certain extent. But there is hope. The hope is to keep humans first. And every slice of increment that you're doing for 5 to 6 months, that 18% improvement goes across the human operations, product and engineering slice. When we do this, there's an enterprise-wide improvement that is seen in short time bursts than waiting for a long period of time. And because your strategy is live, you can pivot much rapidly. Your experiments, you won't run one slice experiment for 6 months. One slice experiment most likely will be for a few weeks, maybe a month. If it doesn't work, you pivot and you continue doing this. Now it sounds theoretical. Having said that, even Jeff Bezos in one of the stakeholders or shareholders letter has stated that a lot of experiments are required in order to be successful. And most of the experiments will fail. What you want to do is fail faster. We have been speaking about this since many years. The implementation still is not to the level of expectation that we want. That is the slice of hope. There is a much longer version of that, which if you want to scan and go through, you can do it. After the entire talk, I'll bring this slide up again so you can come back and scan it. If I ask the same question again where we started, maybe the story was mine, but the same story is yours as well. It's not about calculating your happiness score. It's about how quickly you can adapt and go towards the happiness that you're looking for, whatever your definition of happiness is. And that requires experimentation. That requires something like slice, if not slice, to be done. And done across a spectrum. In my case, it is humans, operations, product, engineering. Your spectrum might be different, but that spectrum is required. A very typical example, we are hearing about a lot of layoffs that happen. And let's say a layoff happens and after a few months, you also see news about the company hiring again. Simple thing that goes in our mind is that you're getting people at a lower salary, which may not be the truth. One of the reasons why that happens is because organizations still operate in silos. And because we can't gauge the future, we let people go without realizing that we will need them back. People usually are not bad. Most of them are good. We think the other way around, which is a different thing. So yeah, your happiness score in your hands. I said you will not have the answers. What you have is now the mechanism to get the answer. And if you do end up getting the answers, you end up making innovation as your habit. That's all that I have from my side today.